Greetings to all my quarter mile cowboys. What's up? It's Eric. Hey, was going to get a video out to you guys. I know it's been a while. I got a lot of stuff going on, crazy at work. If you'll see here, I got the LT1 intake bag on the workbench again. I had a brainstorm, so I've been working on that. A couple of little things here and there. So today I want to discuss with you about 5 drag racing myths debunked. 5 things that I've heard. I mean, maybe some of you heard other things as well, but these are 5 I heard recently that kind of, when you think about it in the person's realm, depending with where they're at in their automotive enthusiast, depending how they're into it, it may make sense to them. In the drag racing world, I'll show how it kind of doesn't really add up as well as it could. So anyway, let me start at the bottom of the list here. I'm going to check out here. The first one is that the carburetors are useless in this age of fuel injection. And I'm going to admit I bought into this. I was like, yeah, carburetors are garbage. Fuel injection is the way to go. Blah 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 blah. On a street car that you're driving every day, when you have change in weather. And here in PA, right now it's drastic. It was 60 degrees yesterday. Today, 38. So when you have drastic change like that, okay, I can see where fuel injection would help with drivability. But as far as in a drag racing application, the more I look into it, the more I realize it's pretty much a dead heat between the two. I mean, think about it. When you have a drag car, you're either idling or you're wide open throttle pretty much. So as long as you're up to operating temperature on the engine, which small block Chevy is about 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So as long as you're at 180 degrees engine temp, I don't care what you got sitting on top of your intake manifold. It's more than able to do the job, whether you use the old school carburetor or whether you use, the modern fuel injection or aftermarket fuel injection. Now, the one thing that's nice with the carburetor is you just basically need a screwdriver and basically a heartbeat and an idea what you're doing. You can get pretty close, if you do the research. Fuel injection, I have fuel injection on my Camaro. The pain in the butt with that is I don't have the, for lack of a better term, I don't have the brains to understand it, to get a laptop to go in there and start messing with stuff. So I always end up just loading the car up, taking it down to 2nd Street speed, have him strap it on the dyno. He goes on with his laptop software, blah, 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 blah. He tunes it, and in about 3 or 4 pulls, he has the thing dialed in. So, which is, but it's a lot of money. Unfortunately, it's something I don't have a full grasp on. I'm trying to read books on it and understand it more, but hey, I haven't arrived, so therefore I'm not gonna touch it and say, hey, I can tune this thing, because I can't. So that's what's nice about a carburetor. The tunability is easier than that of fuel injection. You basically tune your carburetor. You can check how your tune is with reading your spark plugs and all that stuff. So it's really nice. The other talking point I'm going to get to is that the louder the car, the faster it is. I'm going to tell you also that is wrong. Trust me, take it from a guy who was in high school. I had a loud car. The thing couldn't get out of its own way. Couldn't spin the tires in Vaseline. So it's a bunch of garbage. No, I'm not judging it by that. There's a lot of variables in that. It's kind of like a trick question thing. You're like, well, Eric, I go to the drag strip. There's cars running open exhaust. Correct. But they're running aftermarket heads. They're running a hotter cam, maybe even a race cam or a custom grind cam. So that cam is made for running open headers. It's made for, heads. It's made for their particular combination. That's why it works. But if you're going to take a stock car that you're going to drive on the street every day or on the weekends and it has really no internal work done to it, you just have the cam it was born with, choosing the loudest exhaust isn't necessarily the best. High flow exhaust is good. Back pressure is good. It depends what you're looking for. You don't want to choke the motor out. I mean, don't get me wrong. You still need that thing to breathe. You need it to move air so it can make horsepower, okay? On the same token, you need certain amount of back pressure in that exhaust, so that way you have torque, and torque's what's going to get that puppy going off the line. So you kind of have to judge for yourself. But just because exhaust is loud doesn't mean it's the best one. There's some exhausts out there that are really loud and they're obnoxious, and the car really doesn't go any faster. And then you have other exhaust companies that are making stuff that's, I'm not going to say it's quiet. It's not as loud, but it has like a throaty muscle pitch to it. And it's not abusive. And those things make as much horsepower, if not more, than the ones that are really loud and obnoxious. Because basically what you want is, you want a good balance. You want between something with back pressure that's going to give you the torque, that's going to get you rolling. But yet, if you're wide open throttle and you're running somebody, you want to have enough flow at wide open throttle that when you're at high RPM, that puppy's going to breathe. So it's a constant struggle, and that's just, it's not necessarily that the louder is better. Just do the research and find out what works best for your combination. I know headers do a big thing. I know I've talked about it in another one of my videos about the correlation between headers and your fuel mixture, and how headers affect that, and how to tune with that. If you will. So yeah, I believe that was in my part 1 of Ignition Basics, or the 4 strokes of a 4-stroke internal combustion engine. Check that video out. I believe I briefly touched on it in that video. So if you subscribe, check that video out. I would appreciate it. Also, I'm gonna look also onto another point here. You ever see that guy at the drag strip? He does the huge burnouts, burns them down, smokes up the place, puts on one hell of a show. That's great, but you don't need to do it. I learned from someone recently that that's pretty much a waste. You're burning off rubber you don't need to. You're overheat cycling the tires, and it's just a waste. You're wasting your time. You're abusing the engine. You're abusing your car, and you don't need to. Drag slicks are only going to get to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. That's it. You could burn them all day long. That's as hot as they're going to get. It doesn't matter. So what I do is, and a couple other people, you go up there, they roll you through the water box. You do your burnout. I try and get that thing. Like, I start my burnout in 2nd gear. So I'll hurry up as fast as I can. I'll get that thing up to shift point. I'll grab top gear. I'll sit there anywhere between 7 to 10 seconds. I'll let off the line lock, let the car start marching out of the burnout towards the start line. And that's more than enough to get you up to temperature. The other thing to keep in mind too, sometimes during eliminations, they have the track temperature, so you can adjust. I mean, if the track temperature is going to be like 145, 140 and above, track's going to be a little greasy. So you have to kind of play around with that. If it's colder, you might not have to do as much of a burnout. And I know that sounds weird. Oh, hotter is always better. Not necessarily. There's this principle called coefficient of friction, which states 2 surfaces that come contacted together, if they're the same or close to the same temperature, will adhere better than if there's a drastic difference in temperature. Meaning, if the track's really cold and your tires are really hot, you might have, the track's not going to hold. On the same token, if the track's hot and your tire's really cold, you're going to spin. But in it, so it's this fine line. You have to figure out what works. Again, if you're doing it, check your 60-foot time. It's going to tell you how you're making out with your burnout, and if you do need to do more or less, and adjust off of that. So that's quickly on that. My next thing is also on tires. There's this conception that fatter or wider tires grip better. Wrong. If you're going to lay the thing down into a corner at like 120 and you want to lay it into a corner, yeah, that might be so. For drag racing, not so much. Let me tell you why. Okay, because what you're doing is, when you put a wider tire on a drag car, you're creating more rolling resistance. In other words, it's going to require more power to get that thing to turn. You don't want that. The whole idea with drag racing is the less drag as possible, but efficient enough that you get enough traction to get down the track. Okay? Remember, the lower the ET, the better. So that's the name of the game. So that being said, what you want to do is put a taller tire on. Something taller than stock. Use a tape measure, go from there. Okay, Eric, what the hell are you talking about? Taller. I've been growing, and same thing with me. My whole life was, hey, wider's better. Wider's better. It's not. I had someone explain to me, well, think about how you're applying the force. Are you applying the force side to side? Because when you look at the contact patch of a wide tire, it's wider, across. I'm going to say across the car, the width way, okay? Are you applying the force like that? No, you're not. You're not applying the force sideways at all. What you're doing is you're applying your force like this. You're spinning it, right? Okay, so now with that being said, you want to make your footprint not wider. You want to make it longer, okay? Longer like, okay? My hand gestures are horrible. Anyway, you want to make that footprint longer. And the only way you're going to make that footprint longer is if you put a taller tire on, okay? And this is why dragsters are on really tall tires. It's why, like, your super comp guys, your super stock, even stock eliminator, like my Camaro is basically a stock eliminator. It's built after a stock eliminator, destock automatic Camaro is what it's built after. And there, I think the rules allow a maximum of a 30-inch tall slick, I believe. So that's what I did. I had my quarters radiused, and we put 30-inch tall by 9-inch wide radial slicks on the back. And for slicks that are kind of old and maybe marginal, I'm in like the 1.67 second range in my 60 foot, and it's pretty consistent. So it does make sense. If you have a really high horsepower car, you might want to go maybe a little wider, but still go with the 30-inch tall, or whatever. If you don't have the money, or if you don't really want to cut up your car, that's fine. You might be able to go an inch or two taller than what you have on stock. But take a tape measure, measure it out, talk to people, do the research, see what the tallest tire is you can get on your particular car, and put it on there. And I think you're going to see the car's going to get consistent. It's going to hook. And your ET might go down because you won't have it so wide that it's going to create more rolling resistance than it's going to create traction. Okay? So enough about that. Let's move on here. The last one that I'm going to talk about that I hear is, oh, stick shift cars are better for the quarter mile. No, wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, if you go down to the drag strip, even if you walk around in the pits, you're going to see a lot of guys running automatic. You're like, Eric, what the heck? Well, it's like this. A lot of those are competition built automatics. I have a turbo 350 in my Camaro, but I have a manual valve body. So in other words, it's like having stick shift, but you don't have the clutch. So, and the thing too is you pull back. There's no gated. There's no worry about missing a shift. So that's what's nice about it. And the thing is, I don't care how good you are. There's no way you're going to shift faster than hydraulic pressure inside a transmission. I only knew of one person, Bill Grumpy Jenkins, and I'm sure you people heard of him if you're into drag racing. As far as I knew, he was the only guy that I know of that could shift faster than an automatic. So, I mean, honestly, the technology is there. The ability to build a really great automatic transmission is there. Utilize it, put an automatic in, plus it's more consistent, and you won't miss a gear as readily. So, that's what I have today going on for this video. Just figured I'd get that out there. And hey, if anybody has ever heard of anything else, any other myths or any other things that they're not quite sure, hit me up in the comments, right here. Or I'm on Instagram, Eric Snyder 26. Or if you want to say, hey, I have a question about something and you want to email, you can hit me at ericsnyder802@gmail.com. Hit me up there. Let me know what's going on, what you're thinking, what you're up against. And I might not know the answer right away. I'll see if I can talk to some people and get a legit answer that'll help you out. Remember, we're all here to help each other. We're all here to get through this and enjoy the sport. So please like and subscribe. When you subscribe, I like to think that, you know, you guys are my friends and we're going through this together. We're going to figure this out. And we're going to have some nice fast hot rods and have some fun at the drag strip. So, hey, take care of each other and have a good one. All right, take care. Bye-bye.